The doctrine of the Trinity stands at the very heart of Christian faith. It emerged as Christians wrestled with a profound tension: how to remain faithful to the one God of ancient Israel while also worshipping Jesus Christ as Lord and acknowledging the Holy Spirit as fully divine. The New Testament hands the church the basic grammar of this faith. The Father sends the Son makes the Father known, and the Spirit is poured out upon God's people. Tertullian gave Western Christianity the word Trinitas, while the councils of Nicaea in 325 and Constantinople in 381 settled a crucial question: the Son and the Spirit are not lesser beings ranked below the Father, but share fully in the one divine life. Later, Augustine and the Cappadocians struck different notes. One emphasized divine unity and explored psychological analogies for the Trinity, while the other stressed the distinctness, relationships, and the communion of the three persons. It is this long struggle to hold together oneness and threeness, unity and relation, that 20th century theologians Jürgen Moltmann and Colin Gunton would inherit and rework. Colin Gunton's book, The One, the Three and the Many, a collection of lectures, is especially important here. Gunton does not begin with an abstract discussion of God, but with what he sees as a crisis at the heart of modern life. That crisis is the problem of the one and the many. How do we hold together unity and difference? How do we honor the individual without dissolving the community? How do we uphold community without crushing the particular person? Gunton sees modern culture as having lost its theological bearings. He says the pathos of the modern condition is that after rejecting what it rightly sees to be oppressive forms of unity deriving from the past, it has itself succumbed to various false universals that replicate or even exasperate the bondage from which it had hoped to free itself. That is, on one side, modernity reacts against oppressive forms of unity, political, institutional, and cultural systems that subordinate the many to the one. On the other, once any transcendent ground for unity is abandoned, it dips into fragmentation, individualism, and a rootless freedom. We are left swinging between suffocating uniformity and a chaotic disintegration. For Gunton, this crisis has deep roots in the Western theological tradition. He argues that Christian theology, shaped too heavily by Platonism and certain strands of Augustinian thought, failed to give creation, material things, and real relationships their full weight. Against this backdrop, Gunton turns to the Trinity as Christianity's answer to the one and the many. God is not a solitary unit. God is not an abstract principle hovering above all difference. God is the communion of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The unity of God is not the erasure of difference, but the living fellowship of genuinely distinct persons. This is where perikorosis becomes central, a Greek term meaning mutual indwelling. The Father is Father because of his relationship to the Son his Son because of his relation to the Father. The Spirit is the one who brings creation into communion with God. Gunton then extends this insight into a theology of creation. If the triune God is communion in his very being, then created reality also bears the marks of relation, particularity, and ordered plurality. To be a creature is not to exist in isolation, it is to exist in relation to God, to others, and to the world. Human beings are not best understood as self-sufficient individuals who later optionally choose to enter into relationships. We are persons in relation. We become ourselves not by escaping dependence, but through rightly ordered communion. Jürgen Moltmann, the Trinity and the Kingdom moves in a similar direction, though with a more explicitly political emphasis. For Moltmann, the danger in certain forms of traditional monotheism is that it pictures God as a solitary ruler. If God is conceived mainly as absolute monarch, then earthly monarchy, hierarchy, and domination can claim to mirror the divine order. One God, one ruler, one empire. Here, Moltmann pushes back. The Christian God is not lonely sovereignty, but eternal fellowship. Divine unity is not domination but mutual self-giving. The life of God is a community of love. This is why Moltmann links the Trinity to the kingdom. Moltmann says, we find the earthly reflection of this divine sociality not in the autocracy of a single ruler, but in the democratic community of free people, not in the lordship of the man over the woman, but in their equal mutuality, not in an ecclesiastical hierarchy, but in a fellowship church. Together, Moltmann and Gunton helped revive what became known as social Trinitarianism. At its core is the claim that the Trinity is not merely a doctrine about God's inner mystery, but a vision of reality itself. God is relational, so personhood is relational. God is communion, so human community belongs to our nature, not something added on. God's unity embraces real difference, so difference need not threaten unity. This Trinitarian revival was also a protest against two reductions. The first reduces God to an abstract one, a supreme substance, absolute subject, or solitary will. The second reduces human beings to isolated individuals. For social Trinitarians, the doctrine of God becomes a resource for healing the fracture between individual and community, freedom and belonging, unity and diversity. Yet, social Trinitarianism faces real challenges. The obvious risk is tritheism, speaking of three persons so emphatically that God begins to sound like a committee of three separate beings. Another could perhaps be projection, taking our preferred model of human society and reading it back into God. There is also the danger of drawing too direct a line from the Trinity to politics, as if the divine life yields a ready-made blueprint for democracy, gender relations, or church governance. Critics argue that social Trinitarians overstate the failures of Augustine and the Western tradition, and others worry that the emphasis on relation weakens classical affirmations of divine simplicity, unity, and aseity. Even so, the contribution of Moltmann and Gunton remains immense. They restored the Trinity to the center. They reminded all of us that God's threeness is not an embarrassing puzzle to be explained away, but is at the very heart of Christian confession. To say God is Trinity is to say that ultimate reality is not isolation, domination, or abstraction. Ultimate reality is Holy Communion, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, from whom, through whom, and to whom are all things.